Black Muslims have sometimes, whether you have or not, and I think probably you have sometimes, it seemed to me, been preaching hate to meet hate.
I don't advocate any kind of hate.
There's a lot of talk that sounds very much like it.
No, I think that the guilt complex of the American white man is so profound until when you begin to analyze the real condition of the black man in America, instead of the American white man eliminating the causes that create that condition, he tries to cover it up by accusing his accusers of teaching hate. But actually, they're just exposing him for being responsible for what exists.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Like It Ain't. I am your host, John Pellum, and I have the pleasure tonight to have a special guest here, Nicole Drew. She is an employment lawyer and a social justice advocate, and she's also the president of the Montgomery County Commission for Women. And she's also my sister-in-law. I'm just saying. So she's bomb in several ways and reasons. And, I'm happy to have you on the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing extremely well.
Good. And a happy belated birthday to you. I know that was your birthday yesterday, right?
Yes.
51
looks good, don't it?
I was gonna say 21, but you went right with it. So I love that.
That's all right. I'm not ashamed of my age.
You definitely should not be. So we just want people to know that Like It Ain't is a show that pays homage to the old series Like It Is, you know, where we talk about our people, our culture. We were originally going to speak about the Black Panther Party and the Civil Rights Movement. And then everything started happening. And I was like, you know, we need to talk about current events. Right. It don't crack.
Right.
So we decided that we were going to break down the presidential debate, if you want to call it that, and also talk about the importance of voting, you know, and how you can get involved even beyond being an elected official. So anyway, so let's talk about this debate. Nicole, can we even call it a debate?
Well, you know, so I think some, you know, there were some people on some of the political shows that one in particular that called it, used some more colorful language, but, you know, it was definitely a show. I mean, it was unfortunate because you have somebody here that was really just, you know, on the one hand, it was a stark contrast. It was one person that was respecting the process, trying to respect the rules of the process, and have a serious conversation with America, especially those people who are still on the fence, those people who still want to just see what do these candidates stand for, and, you know, who should I be voting for? I mean, I think the majority of America has already made up their minds, but there are still some people in the middle who decide, you know, who needed to hear some serious answers to questions that were posed. And then on the other side, you had, I mean, it got to the point where I was just like, I wanted to turn away, but I couldn't, you know, but it was amazingly crazy, where there was no respect for the rules. It was just like a child, a spoiled child, just having a tantrum, not even respecting the opponent, not even respecting the person, the moderator. I mean, what was that? It was crazy.
No, someone just said it was. Lynn Small said it was like WWE Royal Rumble. It was.
Oh, wait. Let me tell you, I told some people that it looked like the house husbands of the White House, you know.
Seriously, though, it was like,
I mean, it was crazy.
You know, but in a microcosm, though, you just said it was like he wasn't respecting the process of debate. And the whole time along, he hasn't respected the process of being a president. It's been so bad that he's made me look at George W. Bush differently. Like, wow, he wasn't as bad as we thought. You know, I mean, he still did some things, but he still was presidential. He still had something about him that made you feel like he was a leader, whether you agreed with everything or not. Fine. Obama, we won't even come on.
Man, I mean, well, look, Let me just say, and then let me just make my disclaimer too. Just, the views expressed here are my own.
Yes.
I just need to make sure I say that, and no other, especially my employer.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, I mean, yeah, I think that, it definitely made you look at like, man, Bush wasn't so bad after all. I mean, I think that, and the thing is, I didn't always agree with Bush's politics or some of the things that he did, but I just think that he respected the office. He respected the office and the process. When we were going through the primaries for the when he was first elected to president, and when we were going through the primaries and you had all of those candidates, I really felt really badly for those Republican candidates who they dedicated their lives to being public servants, and they took it seriously. And then it just became like this, your mama, throwing darts and making little nicknames for people. And I mean, I'll admit some of them were funny, but 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 it was just, it was uncalled for. It just kind of just marginalized and just diminished the process.
Yes.
And regardless of where you stand on either side, of your politics, whether you're in the middle and you're independent or you're with some other party besides, Democratic and Republican parties. I think the fact of the matter is you need to still respect the process, because it's a serious thing. I mean, it's our government, and we need, if you want to talk about law and order, you need to respect the laws so that you can have order, and I think somebody said that, during the debate.
That's the truth. And we want to say hello to Erica. I saw a hey Drew. So
thank you, Erica.
Thank you, Mona, for tuning in.
Is that my LS, Erica?
We appreciate you.
So I'm a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority and also the Links Incorporated. So West Spring Maryland chapter.
There you go. Shout them out. Okay. So, like with this debate, we were just saying it didn't seem like an actual debate. It just seemed like two kids. And unfortunately with Biden, he didn't come across looking much better in the situation either. I'm going with Biden because he's not Trump, to be honest with you. But Biden didn't seem to handle that. I don't know, as a man, he should have been able to handle Trump differently. He knows what kind of man he is, but it's like when he got into the arena with him, Trump's Trumpisms seemed to throw him off guard, and suddenly he was resorting to some of the same things that Trump was doing or trying to talk over Trump, and it's just, you can't play that game.
Man. That, it was disappointing. There were times when I was just, how you're sitting in a fight, you're watching like a professional fight, and you're just like, you're doing this too, almost like if you're at a rock concert or something, or some kind of concert, and you're playing the band, like you're in the band or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, say this, say that. I mean, there was things that I was just like, man, you missed the opportunity. You could have just said this. You could have said that. Yeah. Let me tell you, Trump reminds me of that person that was really good with those your mama jokes. Just really quick-witted and quick. You have to be on top of your game. And I mean, but at the same time, what I did appreciate the moments when he turned to the camera and said, I'm not going to engage this child, and I'm going to get back to why we're here. And
he called him a clown too.
And those were the moments that I appreciated that he did, and said, you know what? I see where you're coming from. You just want to just get attention and take the attention off of what the real issues were, because you don't have anything really important to say about it. So you're just
for anything, really.
Right.
Like he doesn't actually ever really address the real issues.
Right.
So
and then
go ahead.
Right. Well, I was just gonna say, and then I want to shout out my friends, Scruggs, Ricky. Thank you for joining in. But what was I just lost my thought. I guess blame it on age, right?
No, blame
I was just gonna say, I think that one of the things I was disappointed in the moderator.
Why?
Man, and look, I have told some of my friends, I wish they had Chris Cuomo so he can go toe to toe. Like, you want to go, like, I'm from New York, so like, yo, you want to go there? Let's do this. I mean, those are some of the times when I appreciated Bloomberg. He was like, I'm a millionaire too. What? I mean, not even a millionaire. I'm a billionaire, and I'm a real billionaire.
And now, you know what, Mona, you're right. We did want to hear more about their plans.
Right.
Trump, and I mean, we weren't even, no matter what Trump said, I'm not voting for him anyway. But still, again, respecting the process, talk about your plans. Talk about what's happening. And, instead of the moderator trying to get him to denounce white supremacy, it would have been beautiful.
Oh, man.
It would have been beautiful if he would have said, I tell you what, or if Biden would have said, you know what, forget all that. Just say Black Lives Matter without a follow-up.
Just that. I mean, that's even an issue.
He would have skipped and skirted around saying that. He would have never said it.
Right. Or even, I mean, just the fact that you're shouting out white supremacy organizations. I mean, are you the president for the people? All people?
Are you the grand wizard? Wasn't it?
Yeah. How about that? I mean,
his father in the Klan or something, or connected to the Klan. I have to look that up.
I don't know. We have to research that, but I just feel, it didn't provide us an opportunity to hear about what are your plans for the future. No. And I think, all around, I can't say, Biden is not, I'm voting for Biden, not just because he's not Trump. But I'm also voting for him because of his policies, because of what he represents, what he can do. And then, I just think that, but I do agree that, that we need some changes right now.
We do.
We need some changes. And it would be nice that we can kind of have a respect for that process so people can hear about what do you plan to do?
What do you plan to do? What are your plans? I don't understand how we're in this place where people can be government officials or be president and not talk about a plan and not being inclusive, not be held accountable. That's the whole thing. Is I feel like these politicians, none of them are really being held accountable. Like, they can do a lot of stupid and ignorant and slick stuff. But what can we do to stop them besides voting? That's the thing I want to start building with people about. And I know that you were talking as well about how you're doing things even outside of voting to galvanize the people to vote and, and to be more actively involved, because I'm somebody that when I voted, I'm going to be honest with you, most of the time, I usually just voted for president ignorantly. I've learned better now that I have to vote for state officials and all these other things consistently. Like, we let Obama down. I voted for him, but afterwards, I wasn't voting for any of the other governing parties that would have helped support his causes.
But you know what? Let me just say this. I think that I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason. Everything happens in its season. And I think sometimes we need to see.
Yes.
And, and this needed to happen. I mean, there was a time when people were talking about impeaching him. I didn't want him impeached in terms of like getting out of office. Now, I'm glad that he got impeached.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on the record that he was impeached. But I didn't want it to be where, he got out of office so soon before the election, because we have short-term memories and we will forget, because his vice president seems like he's a little bit more, what we would expect out of a president, because he knows this was his career, so he knows how to play the game. He knows the political arena. And so he can appear to us as if he's a lot more what we think should be, in a president. However, we always forget, we forget some of the policies that he stood for in his own state, right. And discriminatory policies. Mm-hmm. So, but the other thing is, I think in terms of, yes, I think we did let Obama down. It was a shame, but it served a purpose, in my opinion, to allow us to see this process at work. Because I think sometimes a lot of people don't realize, and and people like me who get, I get excited about politics, or I get excited about social justice issues and stuff, and I'm in it. I kind of read up on this stuff and listen to it and all that. And some people are not. And so I think Len Small is coming. But I think that if we had done it so sooner, earlier in the year or last year, and he was out of office, we wouldn't have seen how this process, what the impact of the Senate vote, or the House, or local, your local judiciary. So, I will even just say, I do want to give a shout out to my sorors of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and also, my Link sisters of the Silver Spring, Maryland Links and the DMV area Links, because we do these things, and we have had actually a recent forum on voting, on voting. Hey, Regina, we have had a forum on voting, so that we're not just talking about getting registered, but what happens next, and then also the ballot questions. We have several ballot questions in our county. And so we've been trying to inform people on what is important in the county and what's going to be on that ballot, so that you're not shell-shocked when you see that ballot and you're just like, president.
Yeah, right.
Okay, judges, I don't know any of these people. Board of elections, I don't know any of these people. Ballot question, what the heck? I don't even understand what this means.
That's a great
so, and that's the thing, informing people about what those ballot questions are, informing people about the judicial races. How does that impact you locally? Not just those federal judges, but those local judges who are appointed to federal positions, but they're in your jurisdiction. And how do they impact your lives on a regular basis, or your friends' lives, or Bebe and them, and then also the Board of Elections elections. Those are elected positions as well. Need to, who gets the money? Are the kids going back or not?
Right.
During this COVID season, they make those decisions in your jurisdiction. And those are the times, those are the elections that you need to pay attention to, and then even if the person that, you don't know who they are, but pay attention afterwards. Hold them accountable. If they said they were going to do something, or if they didn't say it, and you decide that this is important to me, so I'm going to bring it to their attention. You can write to them, you can call them, you can talk to organizations like, the organizations I mentioned that I'm a part of. I'm also, a commissioner. Those are, in our county. I'm the president of the Commission for Women in our county. And there's boards and commissions, advocacy groups, people who have access to people in the county that can inform their county officials and elected officials about issues going on in your respective community. And that's how you make change. It's not just being on that, voting for your national president. You have to hold them accountable after the fact as well.
Yeah. See, that's so huge. That's exactly what I'm talking about. More of us need, like the brother was saying, David was saying, we must educate folks on the importance of voting in every election. And he put every in caps.
Right.
It's really important. And everybody in the chats, please comment and let us know what you guys thought about this debate. Overall, we want to hear your opinions as well and interact with you guys, because this debate in a microcosm to me represented his presidency. It was a debacle. It was a circus act, and then now we round up that circus act with the news of what just happened, of this dude and his wife now having COVID-19.
Yeah, well, not just his wife. I mean, the administration, and I had the news on earlier just before the call, and he's been taken to the hospital. So I mean, I wish him a swift recovery. I hope it doesn't get worse. But at least he's being taken to the hospital and getting the care that he needs. But I mean, it was reckless. It was reckless. And the lives that you put it. I mean, look, Herman Cain, remember him?
Gone.
I mean, and these people are devout followers. It's almost like, what was that? what was that preacher that everybody went and followed him and took the punch, and everybody, you know, and
Yeah, Jim Jones.
What was his name again?
Jim Jones.
Right. Right. Remember, I mean, it's almost like that. People are, you have the ear of a lot of people in America, and regardless of, you know, how I feel about his politics, the fact of the matter is you have a lot of people's lives at stake where they are following you, they are listening to you and hanging on every word. And that's what I'm talking about when you're talking about having respect for the office, understanding the level of impact that you have on every word you say, every tweet that you put out.
Yes.
You know, I mean,
I can't believe we're dealing with a president who tweets all the time. Like when Obama got in, I remember them.
Tweeted, though. I mean, but he was.
I remember them taking Obama's black
responsibly.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I said it was tweeting responsibly.
There you go. I mean, like any adult. Well, not any adult, like most adults would. But, you know, I just want to say something real quick. You see how forgiving and good black folk are? Because as much as he's been dealing with us in a terrible way, as much as he doesn't want to denounce the racism, and he does all these things that are against just being a good person, we're still not wishing ill upon him. Nobody wants to see this man die from COVID-19 or anything, or anybody really, you know? When I feel like if the shoe was on the other foot, if something happened to us, his followers, forget about it. They don't give a damn about us in the first place. And I think that's part of the problem with voting is we only vote from our perspective. We only vote from just what we want. When to me, it should be about the people. If we thought more about the people, this man would never be in office.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be a personal thing. It has to be bigger than that. You know, to me, the system is just messed up and it needs to be done differently. Like, I don't think there should be Democrat and Republican. There shouldn't be parties.
Mm-hmm.
It creates separations. There should be people that are trying to run for president and become whatever other governing position. But there shouldn't be parties. They shouldn't be in there past 60 years old. We don't need to have these old people telling young people how to live. We just don't. To me.
Well, what's his name? Oh gosh, why is his name escaping me? The other progressive party. Good grief. What?
Not the party.
He's the other Democratic candidate. But you know, he has a lot. Oh gosh, his name is right to my tongue. I don't know why I can't remember. But anyway, he you know, he had a lot of followers. He was older. Mm-hmm. He had a lot of followers, but I think it was their movement more so than anything else. Honestly.
You mean Bernie?
Bernie Sanders. Yeah, thank you. I don't know why the name was escaping me, but I think it was, you know, I think, you know, he was older, but I think, you know, the followers were following the movement.
Mm-hmm. And his track record. You saw pictures of him in the civil rights movement being dragged by police. So this is somebody that's been down for a long time for the cause, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Trump, we remember him from a long time ago. He was the one that had that big ad put up in the New York Post about the Central Park Five and how they should all get the death penalty. So it's
someone disagrees with you.
Okay, I disagree, John. Black community is not the reason Trump is president. I don't think I said the black community is the reason that Trump is president.
I don't think you said that either. So I was thinking, what I will say though.
Who is this person Regina's talking about? I hate to say I'm feeling Shandon Fruit. Who is this? She's gonna have to educate me because I don't know who this is. I don't know. Please educate us, Regina, on who that is, because we're not.
Let me just comment about the black community. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, and maybe what
Lynn,
maybe what he, you know, what Lynn is getting at, but I you know, I don't know if this is. I'm trying to remember what you said that he would make him make that comment. But what I will say is, and not just the Black community, but we do know that we are capable of turning this election around, the Black community. I remember years ago, there was a movement about showing Black people the value of their consumer dollar. I don't think Black people realize, the Black community realizes its power. And I think that is where we fall short. We have to realize and value our power, whether it's politically, whether it's economically, in the communities and everything. We have to leverage our power more. Yeah. And I think in terms of this election, in terms of getting him elected, I think part of the problem was that, unfortunately, my opinion is that there was a lot of racist people who have been ignited and given permission to come out of the closet and come out of the woods and say, I can say openly, I'm a part of the KKK, or I am racist. I don't like you because you're Black. I can't hear what you're saying, John.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. That's why he's got to go. Because he's inciting a lot of madness and these fools to just come out the woodwork now. And what you were saying back to our power, I feel like in this time, we should start to be able to see the power that we have when it comes to this Black Lives Matter movement. Look at all these corporations now that are like, no, Black Lives Matter, that are saying it, that are posting it up wherever they can, even if to some degree it's a business move for some of them. Still, they recognize that they need to be a part of this wave to keep continuing with their businesses, which shows how important we are. I mean, come on. The owners of the Redskins, that was a name that obviously was derogatory. He was going to never change that name. Then Black Lives Matter started to make this big wave, and suddenly people were saying, hey, change that name. And the money spoke, and now they're just the Washington football team.
Right. And that fight.
There's power.
That fight for that change of that name, I mean, that's been going on for a long time.
Forever. Because I used to be a fan of that team. So I remember.
Yes, I do remember.
She's like, yes, I do remember. Yeah. You jumped ship. I left NFL totally. I didn't jump to a new team. Let's put that out there. But anyway, yes, there's so much power within us. Mona said they have been, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry, I didn't complete yet. You're absolutely right. And that's the sad thing. And that's why he's got to go. When he said that Proud Boys thing, I never even heard of Proud Boys until then. I never even heard of them.
Crazy. That was just crazy.
Stand by.
Well, it was almost like him, giving Russia, a signal, sending the bat signal, go through Hillary's emails. I mean, like the thing is that, whatever he believes in, I mean, I think that that's important. That's important to voters. And I think that, when you have someone who is a little bit reckless about how he's managing our cybersecurity, and that's something that's important right now. We need to make sure that we can, and this goes back to what I was saying about respecting the process, just making sure that we have somebody that is in office, whatever their political party affiliation is, making sure that that person respects the process. And part of that process is you are you represent all people. You are the servant leader for the republic, and you have to defend and protect the republic. Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Can I just say a shout out real quick? So Regina R826 is really, really smart. And she's well-read and everything. I know who that is. So shout out to Regina. She just told us, what was it? Shaden.
Yeah, Scandin.
That was new to me too. Thank you.
Taking pleasure in someone else's misfortune. Oh, So you learn something new every day. Thank you, Regina. I definitely didn't know. We were both like, can we Google that real quick? I love that. I love when we share and we learn from each other. See, it's simple as that. But so with this guy, I've also learned that I feel like the president shouldn't have as much power as he does, because he's voted in over 100. They said over 119 judges.
He's nominated
and yes, and they're nominated in for a lifetime. Mm-hmm. So what? Correct me.
Well, your federal court judges, that's not, I mean, they have terms. They have to, get reelected and everything. But the fact that you have the power to, but they have really long terms,
right?
The fact that you have to, the Supreme Court is like a lifetime appointment.
That's what it is.
Yes. Okay. And that matters. And and so that's something where, we don't think about those things. And this is where I'm saying that when you talked about, we kind of let Schadenfreude
all together.
Schadenfreude. Thank you, Regina.
Thank you, Regina, for the breakdown.
Later.
I love that.
But the thing is that this goes back to when you were talking about, we kind of let Obama down because we didn't do those down ballot races. But now what I was saying was, sometimes there's a reason, things happen for a reason. And in my opinion, this was necessary, I think, to show people this is how it impacts you, because I can remember a time when I didn't really understand all of this stuff, maybe, and it might just be, I was into politics in New York as well, but I mean, maybe just being here in Washington, D.C. and the area, it really just is a whole different animal when you're right here in the midst of it. And, but, there are a lot of people, I just recently went to my hairdresser, and we were having a discussion, and people were talking about, so it was just two clients in the room, and she's across the room. She's talking to somebody about one of her clients about Hillary's emails. And that's where I'm just on my phone waiting for her to get back to me. And I looked up and I was like, wait, Hillary's emails? What? Why are we talking about Hillary's emails? Right. But the thing is that people are, losing focus because they're not into civics, they're not into politics and stuff like that. And so they don't understand how these other things kind of overlap and impact you. But, and so we get caught up in the, like the reality show stuff.
Yeah, and Trump knows that. That's why he keeps spinning that.
Right.
I mean, come on, he was a reality show king,
Right. And he knows, I mean, quite honestly, I mean, some people were saying that, maybe that was a whole show because otherwise you would get to hear that the other opponent might have had something more, something reasonable to say about his plans for America. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you might also get, and that he might get exposed that he does not, and
Biden probably did have plans ahead to say certain things, but I think Trump's circus knocked him off his axis, kind of. It just took him away from, it steered him away from his original plan. And next thing you know, he was in this fight, this alley fight.
And that's why I was, I wished he had stayed focused. And there were times when he got back to it, and he started talking directly to that camera and just said, just start talking to America. Yeah. But, I wish he had done that a little bit more, because when you started seeing that back and forth, and sometimes when you have somebody in your ear and you just want to, that's not true. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then going back and forth with him, and then you got to realize, wait a minute, let me pull myself back in line and realize that, no, let me get back to, I'm going to be the adult in the room.
Yeah.
No one else will be.
He knows that. He plays off of all these things, in my opinion.
Yeah. Don't underestimate Trump. I think he knows how to do these games, and play them well.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny you say that, because I have a friend who said he felt like people were giving Trump more credit for things that he wasn't responsible for. Like how we're sitting here saying, yo, he's a master manipulator. He's like, nah, he's really not these things. He's just this bumbling idiot that things work out for him. And I'm like, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And as I spoke more to my friend, he was saying he's stuck as far as who to vote for, because he's like, we know what Trump has done and who Trump is, but also Biden doesn't have a good history, which I remember when Biden was running against Obama. I remember the dude he was then, you know, his shine just had a gleam to it when he was standing next to Obama, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there right now. We need to get rid of this dude. But I'm scared because I feel like there are a percentage of Black people out there that might not vote at all, or might actually vote for Trump because they feel like Biden and Kamala are somehow even worse than Trump.
And that's what kills me. I don't understand. For one, you know, people are entitled to their opinions and you know, and their political decisions. But I don't understand. I don't really get why anybody would be undecided at this point. But that's just me. I don't get it. But if you are, you know, you are.
No, if you are, you need to decide.
True. I don't get the people who say I'm just not going to vote. But then I do. Because if you have some people who are really, this is just like, I'm not into this. So it doesn't matter anyway. And that's one of the conversations I was having with the hairdresser, where she was talking about some of her, the young people in her life where, you know, they may not vote because they just think, well, it doesn't matter anyway. And I don't like either one of them. Well, you have a clear choice. First of all, like, you know, it's Trump or Biden. That's it. I mean, we have primaries now.
There's no other option.
Make a decision, and you should make it soon, because we're in the middle of a pandemic where, you know, like getting out and standing online with people is not going to be safe. But if that's your choice, you know, make sure you do it safely.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, right now, you know, we need to get out there. And let me just say, you know, I heard this quote from the NAACP president. Who said, you know, we need to overwhelm the system with our votes. That's it, because he plays games. You know, you're talking about an October surprise. I don't really think this is the end. You know, I think something's up the sleeve, and we don't need our votes getting invalidated. And on that note, when you do fill out your vote, look at all the rules, you know, find out what you need to do ahead of time. Does your state require an ID? Don't go on there without an ID or some form of identification. And you find out what those things are that give you, that allow you to identify yourself. It could be a utility bill. If you don't have a driver's license or an ID. I mean, if you're voting, you know, somebody is a registered voter, you should have an ID or a driver's license, but no judgment. As long as you're getting out there and vote, we can handle like you not having your ID later.
Right.
But we need to make sure that there's so many votes in favor or whatever. You know, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm just saying I know who I'm supporting. But we need to overwhelm the system so that there is a clear winner, and no one can say, "Well, this person, that signature doesn't look. I didn't like the way they did their work."
Okay, you just touched upon something. So I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I am going to vote. And I'm definitely not voting for Trump. And I'm going to be more of an active voter when it comes to state and local officials. But a part of me also feels like this voting's got to be rigged, because the system, the government, the man, they don't trust us for nothing. If anything, they're against us. So why would they put in the hands of the citizens the fate of who's going to lead or make decisions when it comes to laws? And then you have human error that you were just talking about. Oh, they don't, you know, this signature doesn't match that signature, or there's human error as well, miscounting and all types of things. And I don't know.
That's something that we have to. I think that this election system can be updated.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure you're still there.
It's like, I just see me now.
Right. Shout out to my sister in the background.
Yeah, shout out to Nicole producing, making it happen.
But I think that definitely we definitely have to overwhelm the system. I think the system as it stands could use some adjustments. And but these are other ways that we can participate in the process. But right now, this is what we have.
Yes.
This is the system we have right now. Let's follow what we have right now.
Yep.
And then we can talk about reform later. Just like we're talking about police reform.
Ooh.
And on that note, these are some of the things that at a local level, I mean, how many listeners now know what their police policies are, use of force policies in their local jurisdiction. I will just give a really big shout out to Montgomery County, Maryland, because I appreciate our elected officials here, and our chief of police, who's a Black man. Not that that matters, because white people can be good people too. I think they're good police officers. But we do happen to have some really good people in place right now. And we have, they've been evaluating our use of force and making modifications to it.
Really? Okay.
So, I mean, I'm fortunate in that way. I think that it's great that I live in a good progressive county, but that's the thing. Everybody needs to be looking at, what are our use of force? And you don't have to do it yourselves, because I don't want to, make it seem like if you're not into politics, then, if that's not your thing, that's fine. But be an informed and educated and active resident of your jurisdiction, wherever you live. So contact the people on commissions and boards who have that access. And they're just local people from the county who volunteer their time to say, this is important to me. So women are important to me. So I went and went out to be a commissioner on the Commission for Women. But there are other issues, like education and stuff like that. There are people who go out for the Board of Education in their jurisdictions. Find out who those people are. Find out who, your local leaders probably live right near you and you don't even realize it. So find out what they're doing. And all it takes is a phone call, a quick email to their staff, and just say, this is important to me. Handle that,
handle that.
I didn't say that, but give them a little bit more, because they have a lot of people. They have all of the county coming at them. So you do want to give them some issues to and say, hey, I have this problem in my community. And it could be just you, but then guess what? It might be some other people enough to help you help them create some change and some policy changes or some laws.
Yep. And I see Vic here said, he said, just vote in hopes that Biden and Kamala Harris get in, but then we keep our foot on the pedal and apply the pressure on them as well.
Exactly.
That's pretty much what you were getting at. And Lynn, he said, has to be massive win for Biden to avoid Trump having options to steal election.
Exactly.
Voter suppression, especially the mail-in ballots.
Right. And think about that. I mean, look at the amount of effort. I almost feel like, the amount of effort that you're taking to just try to suppress people's vote. You could actually just do this legitimately, and then may the best man or woman win.
Yeah, or you could put that energy into actually helping the country.
How about that?
I don't know. Like me, I've never been one that's huge on all the politics, but I'm about people. And I just don't understand for the life of me how a person can look at Trump and then look at Hillary and then say, I'm going to go with this dude. I knew he was going to win, though, because he surmises this country. He is what this country is. I'm sorry, because this country is more than just him. But he's a great representation of what this country once was, I should say, and what wants to continue to be.
Right. And I think
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, that was clearly evident, and you see that more. I mean, just look, let's not forget And, you know, and when I talked about, you know, everything happens for a reason and the season, you know, my heart goes out to domestic violence victims who at this point in time, you know, are probably locked in with their abusers. And where they might have been able to go out to work and get a little relief, or they might be able to get out to the store and call somebody and say, I need help. You know, those things are not as readily available to them as much anymore. My heart goes out to those people who have lost jobs, those business owners who are just trying to figure it out right now, you know, and they weren't able to shift and just, you know, shift things over to do a new business plan and a new business model to make it work during this pandemic. You know, my heart goes out to those parents who are trying to figure out, I gotta still do my work. And even if they're at home, I still got to do my work, but then figure out how my child is going to get on this Zoom call and get into school. You know? Or both me and my partner have to go outside of the home to go to work. Who stays with our young child to watch them so that they can get online to go to school? Or even, you know, even worse, if they're a single parent. You know, they have no other resources, and you don't want to, you know, I mean, people work it out. People, you know, they'll work it out. But, you know, how do they work it out? You know,
right?
And so, but well, I'm sorry, just to say my point when that was this, you know, this police brutality has been going on. I mean, as Black people, we know this thing has been going on for years. You know, and I remember my daughter when she went out to one of the protests and she was asking me about, you know, have I ever gone? And I remember, you know, I mean, Louima in New York, you know, I mean, that was just, you know, I mean, but he was just one of the many, you know, and the thing is, it happened at I don't want to say it like a good time. This happened at an opportune time for everybody to be still. And be in place and have no choice, you know, I mean,
but to deal with it.
You were there. It was in your face. Even if you didn't want to watch that George Floyd video or any of the others that followed. Even if you don't want to watch it, you know, you knew about it because it's in your face, because you didn't have a choice but to be in front of your computer or be in front of your TV because you had to be home.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting you say that. Because I remember early on during the pandemic, I was saying to someone that it felt like this is the first time in my entire life where everything stopped. Like I didn't see a bunch of videos of racist stuff happening. I didn't see police brutality. For a second, there was just nothing. Everyone was on lockdown. And then quickly that changed. And suddenly these videos were coming out with Ahmaud Arbery, I think his name is, the jogger that, and then George Floyd, and all this stuff happened. And suddenly it was right back to the same old business again. But the difference was, like you said, everyone was still locked down, so they had to deal with it.
Right. And don't forget Breonna Taylor. I mean,
my God, we were just talking about her last episode.
That's just, you know, I mean, that's
I would love to.
I don't even know if I have the words for that, because it is it's disheartening that, but look, the bottom line is we still have people who don't respect Black lives, who don't respect Black people. And so when you see these things, you know, it's just, this is just the reason why we need to vote and participate in this process. Yeah.
We have to. It's so important, more important now than it's ever been. And 383 Design said it earlier. She said, he's a win at all costs type of dude.
Right.
You know, Trump is.
I don't care if I gotta, you know, your mama.
Yeah.
You know,
or his own mama, if he had to, or his own mama, if he had to. I would believe that.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Like he creates this atmosphere that I despise. It's this atmosphere of, if you don't agree with me, then screw you. You're no good. You mean nothing to me. You're just totally a bad person.
Right.
And that's not supposed to be the nature of politics. We're supposed to be able to have different opinions and thoughts, because we are going to have that naturally.
Right.
And he's like robbing us of that, because not only are his people believing what he's believing, but they keep then engaging with our people online. And sometimes the media and the internet makes it seem like it's more of them than us. And that is not the case.
It's not. And
that's why I want us
is when you stay home and you decide, you know what, I don't like any of them, so I'm just not gonna. Well, somebody. Yeah, Mrs. Leith used to say, never trust anyone who would disrespect their own mama. That's right. Mrs. Leith was our old the first lady of our church where we grew up. And yeah, but the
real talk.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's I was saying that this is the reason why we have to vote and we can't stay home, because there are people who are going to be so riled up and ready to go and ready to come out of the woodwork and say, yeah, we got an opportunity to, take America back to where it used to be, the old
great again.
Good old America.
Great again.
America was great, and we have an opportunity to be better, because we know it wasn't always so great for Black folks, but we have an opportunity to be better. But it was certainly not great when, people were getting lynched, or people, getting sacrificing their lives just to go vote.
Yeah, for us, it was never great. Great would not be the word I would use. Even for the ones that succeeded, even for Black people that were thriving or did well in America. What did you say?
I said it was good. Better than bad. I mean, I think that we've made some strides. You know what I mean?
Oh, we have made strides, but to me, the people, the racists haven't. That hasn't changed. Racism hasn't changed, no matter how many strides we have made.
Right. That's true.
Those fools are those fools.
Definitely. But the thing is, if you stay home, what happens is our vote, it tips the scales against us.
Yeah.
Because now just that minority of people who agree with him and want to see a racist America thrive, then those are the people who are going to decide that's this election.
Yep. America with 3 Ks. America has never been great for Black people. I'm just saying. I mean, it hasn't. Even if it's been good or for certain Black people, if we're talking about the overall collective of how America treats Black people overall, and it's never been great. I mean, I'm not debating with you. You're saying the same thing.
No. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that it's time. It's funny because I remember watching The View, and Whoopi Goldberg was like, this was like a while ago, I think, when the pandemic first started, or maybe even before the pandemic, and I think they were in person, and she said they were talking about Trump, and is he trying to take us back to those days? And she was like, I got news for you, we ain't even having that. So I think, though, we can't get complacent.
No,
we can't get frustrated and say, I'm just not going to go out there and vote, because I don't like that she locked people up. Well, guess what? Kamala Harris was a prosecutor. That was her job. But look how many, look how many people she, avoided getting locked up.
And
people, because the fact that she was in there and at the table, because we all know if you ain't at the table, then you're on the menu.
Yeah. Right.
So, look how, I mean, you got to look at it in the context of, that was her job. She was a prosecutor. And, so you're looking at the record, look at it holistically, look at how many people that she's helped, outside of that arena.
Yeah.
Look how many people she's helped just by being in that office, because I can tell you that it is not a lot of Black prosecutors.
See, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but I was saying this to somebody recently. They talk about Kamala and how she's been prosecuting people and she was bad for Black people. And I'm like, You mean she was bad for criminals? Because I would have never been caught up in nothing if I lived out there where suddenly Kamala or what is prosecuting me or prosecuting people like me. She was prosecuting criminals. Now there's a whole conversation of course, what makes a criminal, meaning, you know, how this person was raised in, you know, circumstances where they didn't have parenting, where they didn't have funding for after school programs and education, yada, 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 yada. But let's not make it like she was just going out and looking for Black people to prosecute. She was going at the cases that came before her, correct? I mean,
right. The other thing is that, and that's a whole other conversation of, you know, why a criminal is a criminal. Because part of that could be, you know, were they arrested on, you know, a legitimate basis.
Great point.
So, and this is where I'm saying that you have to think about, you know, how, you know, having that person and that group of people at the table where they're making those decisions, and, you know, and not saying just because you're Black, you know, you're not guilty until proven innocent. And I remember I used to know some prosecutors. There's a prosecutor. I don't think he's. I think he's still a prosecutor now. But I remember talking to him, and this is when I was trying to decide whether I wanted to be a defense attorney or a prosecutor. And I used to say, you know, why would you want to be a prosecutor? You're locking our Black people up, you know. And he said to me, you need those people at the table because it's about giving a different perspective. So if you have, like, and I grew up in New York, so it's a lot of, you know, it's houses and buildings and stuff like that, but, you know, it's urban. And so if you have, say, 5 guys, they standing on a corner, you know, not doing anything, and a white officer is looking at that, and these 5 Black people standing on the corner, they're just congregating in front of a store or something. And white person will look at them and say, you know, they're up to no good just because they're standing around talking to each other, you know, laughing and whatever and joking.
Yeah. Karen.
And
Karen says this. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. And so, and then, but you have a Black person or a Black prosecutor who's coming and saying, well, you know, I don't see anything. They're not doing anything. And let me just put my disclaimer out there. I mean, like, I'm not saying that white prosecutors are bad or Black prosecutors are bad or good or bad. I'm just saying that, you know, the thing is that a Black person could come and say, they're not doing anything. They're just hanging out. That's what they do. Yeah. And then, you know, and that white person might say, well, if they were just hanging out, then they need to go, they can go in their basement. But the Black prosecutor would say, well, this is their basement.
Right.
This is where they hang out. So if they're not doing anything, then why do you have that mentality that they're already guilty of something?
They've been conditioned a certain way.
Right.
And every time they see images of Black people, it's Blacks as thugs and yada, yada. Yeah.
Right. So you know, we've had a whole years and years and years of conditioning about, you know, but who Black people are, defining Black people and who Black people are. So, you know, just the fact that, you know, we have to do that redefining of Black people. And I think this is a good time. This is a good time for us for, you know, how we are redefining, you know, Black people so that people at large can understand that Black lives do matter. And it's not about like, we're trying to, you know, do looting and protesting and all that stuff. We're voicing our concerns.
That's a whole other topic too, the looting and the rioting, because a lot of that isn't even us, first of all.
Right, exactly. There's like people coming from other places.
And let's not even act like some of these white boys, as soon as a Boston team wins a championship, they're not outside lighting up somebody's car and flipping it over and going nuts. Like they do crazy stuff too. It doesn't make it right. That's a whole other discussion for a different episode. We got like a little less over a minute to go. We're going to probably run over for a second. because I do want to address the question that was asked here. It says, what do you suggest the youth voters who are so easily influenced by social media and false propaganda? What do you suggest they do? How do we make them understand that their vote matters and ways they can properly research?
So thank you, Aniayo, and thank you for joining. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a concern, and that's a concern right now. I think the fact of the matter is that the more of us who know what the importance of voting, we have to get, and you have access to those youth, you have to get that message out to them. And I think that some people have talked about using those influencers like celebrities and stuff like that, and there's been some controversy about that. But it's like, who gets to that person? Who are the people who are going to get to that person? And I think that showing them, like, okay, Supreme Court, how does that impact you personally? Sometimes it's just about just showing them what is going to impact you personally. How will this affect me in my life? Because sometimes people are just like, I don't really care about, all of the world and all of these international and foreign issues and everything. I'm trying to feed my baby.
Yeah. We have to make it relative. We have to make it, I don't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry. We have to make it something that, because sometimes things happen and people ignore it because it doesn't affect them or they can't relate to it. So we have to make it relative to these young kids, or maybe at least let the youth know, listen, the truth, be seekers of the truth. Right. Because let's put the shoe on the other foot. What if somebody was researching you and wanted to know your story and they just went on the internet and got all this false stuff? You would want them to know the truth. You would want the real story. So in anything you're dealing with, especially in this country and in this world of social media, you need to make sure you're a seeker of truth. Right. You can't go wrong.
Can I just say one thing? I know you have a little time, but I just wanted to say, just to address that as well, and then there was a comment also about the parents have a lot of power as well. They're very good influencers, engaging other youth that are influencers, and then letting people know, like, there is a lot of false propaganda, especially now because our country has been infiltrated cyberly. I'm making up a word, but anyway. Right. And the thing is that we have to make sure that we seek the truth, as you said, and not get distracted by some of these issues that are coming out. You want the truth, go to their website. Go to see exactly what they're about. Because right now it's about Trump versus Biden. So it's not about, I don't know, because, Hillary's email said this and that and the other about Biden and Kamala and blah, blah, blah. It's distracting. Go to their website. Talk to other people who are well informed. Go to other organizations, NAACP, National Coalition of Black Civic Participation. There's a ton of other organizations that have the truth.
The fact.
And then tell a friend, making sure that they understand, okay, if you don't vote, this is what's going to happen. Other people are going to take the election from you. And and this is how it's going to impact you locally, because those people in Senate right now, the Democrats, and if that's where you fall, but the thing is, the Democrats, they don't have a lot of power because they don't hold the power right now. And it used to be a time when it didn't matter so much because people work together. They don't even work together anymore.
That's why they should have to elect
people. Right. No. Just making sure you're electing people who take this seriously and who are there to work together with the other side. Because it doesn't. The fact of the matter is, it's like America. We have Muslims and like religious diversity. We have racial diversity. We have educational level diversity. We have to live together and work together and be amongst each other and figure out how to navigate that.
Yes.
Just like in Congress. You're going to have those opposing parties, but you still got to figure out how to work together. And that's what we're missing right now.
And you're right. And, I think that in government, it should be really an even amount of Democrats and Republicans in every branch of government, period. So then they can't go to their own agendas. They have to work with each other. They need to set the example because they set the example for this country. And if they work together, perhaps more people in this country would just naturally work together, because you have Republicans who are saying, I'll never vote for a Democrat or agree with a Democrat. And you have Democrats saying the same about Republicans, but no one's right 100% of the time. So that means all of us are getting at least 50% of this stuff wrong, because we're just siding with one side because it's a side. Mm-hmm. Not, you know, even if we agree with certain policies, it's like, it's just bad. Mm-hmm. But we're getting here, and the first step is having these kind of conversations that we're having. So we are going to wrap up for tonight. This was a great conversation. I would love to have you on again and talk some more about this stuff, because there's so many
about it, our Thanksgiving tables and Christmas time.
Right. Right.
Are we corny?
What did you say?
I said, are we a corny family?
No.
This is what we talk about at our family gatherings.
Yeah, to me, this makes us awesome. More families should have these conversations with the youth around. That's part of the answer as well. Again, like Mikkel was saying, family, parents, all of that stuff. So anyway, are there any things you want to shout out before we go? What do we say? Regina said, please watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix. We're watching that this weekend. In fact, yeah.
Thank you, Regina.
We should come back and
Regina and Ricky. I can't see who else is on, but I've just seen who's posted. Waniayo, thank you for joining. And my line sister Erica, I saw her on. And you know, my line sister from the mighty sorority of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I saw some of my Lynx sisters from the Silver Spring, Maryland chapter of the Lynx Incorporated. So thank you all for joining.
Represent.
Yeah.
All right. And for me, we suggest that you go to my Facebook page, follow the page, click subscribe, or on YouTube, it's Jersey Art Productions. And the same thing is at Jersey Art Productions on Instagram. Follow, click the notifications button on YouTube so that you can keep following our content when we have our shows every week. You know?
And just my fellow New Yorkers, please don't hold it against him that he's from Jersey. Even though he's sporting the New York Yankees hat.
First of all, this is a default hat. Every man has a Yankee fitted no matter where he's from, because it just matches.
New York.
No, we really don't know.
Big city of dreams.
You know, it's sad because Jersey is like New York's cousin. You know what I'm saying? And Jersey knows that. We don't front like we're better than New York, but still New York likes to come around. Big cousin comes around and always throws their weight around. That's sad. Why would you end?
I mean, you know,
with that? We're doing.
That's who we are.
That's sad. That's why New York
with each other. You know, like
New York as well.
Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens.
Isn't Trump from New York originally? Okay, that's what I thought. Good night.
Yeah, see, you know what?
Trump is from
he gets a pass.
Listen, he lived in Jersey for some time too, so I can't, you know, but he's from New York, so let's not get it twisted. Y'all produce that.
Let's talk about shit. No, you can't win them all. Sometimes you get bad seeds.
Oh, Lynn said to me, he gets a pass. He family. He talking about me, so I get a pass.
Yeah, I thought he was talking about you.
No. Okay, he wasn't talking about Trump. I was like, whoa.
No, Trump, no.
We're gonna have to stay on for a little longer to discuss that.
Marie's Brooklyn all day. Yeah.
Here we go.
But, I was born in Brooklyn, so I represent Brooklyn and Queens. So
first of all, you can't do that. You got to pick a borough. You can't be a Yankee and a Met. You can't be a Nick and a Net. Pick a borough.
I'm not going to be a Net. That's New Jersey.
No, I'm just saying. I'm giving an example. First of all, and a Net is New York now.
Oh so, yeah, that's right. It's New York now.
So Are you Brooklyn or are you Queens? Hurry up with this. What are you?
I'm Greens.
You know what?
But I know Marie and Ricky, they're gonna probably say, you know, I can't represent Brooklyn. We've already had this discussion.
Okay, so then you can't. So then it's Queens.
No, I'm representing Brooklyn and Queens.
Doesn't sound like it. Sounds like Queens
Greens.
with aspirations of
Greens.
Okay, y'all. Good night.
Spots.
See what happens when you bring family on to your shows. They do stuff like this. They start calling you out and trying to play you. Jersey all day. Next week I'm wearing a Jersey hat. That's it.
Yeah.
No more Yankees fitted. This is out. This is going. Good night, y'all. Bye.
Good night.
Peace.